Mark, tell me a little bit about what you do at Somnia and how that sort of plays a role in the Bakersfield hospitals, Dignity Bakersfield at downtown and Southwest.
Yes, so my role at Somnia is the Vice President of Clinical Operations, which encompasses basically a dual role in that I have administrative oversight and administrative responsibilities for contractual management, as well as clinically credentialing and providing clinical services at my sites of responsibility. So, in regards to Bakersfield, I clinically cover cases at Bakersfield downtown and Mercy Southwest.
And do you actually go into the operating rooms, Mark, and do you get a chance to work with the surgeons and the nurses and the CRNAs and the physician anesthesiologists? Do you get like a pretty, have you had good exposures while you're there to those audiences?
Absolutely. The best way to attract buy-in from our surgeon colleagues is to actually clinically provide services for them, interact with them inside the operative room setting,
Hmm.
and allow them a forum to have a kind of unfiltered feedback loop in
Hmm.
that while working with them, they can have as much time as they have during my exposure to them doing a case, or for that matter, an entire day, have dialogue back and forth as to the positives and the negatives as to what's going on with the anesthesia practice, specifically from their point of view.
And what do you think are the best of? So, like, if you had to think about, for instance, talking about the administration, and what do you think has been the best part, in your estimation, the experience of working with the executive leadership? And I think there's one executive leadership that covers both facilities. So maybe you could share a little bit about how you found that, because sometimes a really supportive administration could really make things go smoothly, and sometimes ones that just for whatever the reason aren't able to be as supportive as they might like make things a lot more difficult. So could you maybe speak to that a little bit?
Yes, Bakersfield's extremely fortunate in their administration's continued involvement and caring of their operative service line and their obstetrical practice.
Hmm.
The not the management of each individual department, with the OR director and the women's services director constantly being involved and in communication with us, but also their business development chief executive officer and chief nursing officer all participate in calls, meetings, and feedback for us to continue to improve services at both facilities.
Wow, it seems almost like there's an all hands on deck in their support. Is that a fair characterization of it?
Yeah, we're extremely fortunate in, for example, the women's services director um, having an extreme focus of her practice and those folks that impact that service line, whether it be the OB-GYN practitioners or the anesthesia practitioners. So we have frequent dialogue with her and continue to find a best path for us to improve our interactions there in the obstetrics department.
Great. And how is it working with the surgeons? And looking at some of the outcomes data as we do, it looks like they really do a remarkable job. And I wanted to know, actually having had a chance in your case to watch, see, look over the ether screen, what is sort of your feedback on the different surgical lines and the surgical staff in general?
Right. Somnia's ability with it being a national practice and our exposure to hospitals throughout the country provides us a unique opportunity when we do get into a facility and clinically participate to bring forth those things that both worked and did not work at other facilities. And those discussions, having direct communication line with the individual surgeons to bring up points of possible improvement, or uh, troubleshooting with them, is a key factor in insomnia's success.
Have they had any big issues where I know sometimes some surgeons will wait until after their office hours, sometimes even after they've gone home for a bit, and then there's almost like a second blush of cases that happens later in the day. Have you found that to be the case at either of these two Mercy facilities that in the Dignity system, or do you find that generally, day starts to wind down and there's a funnel? It goes from X rooms at 3 to Y rooms at 5 to Z rooms at 7, and then starts to wind down? Or do you find that there are some surgeons who simply prefer, for whatever the reason, to be operating later in the day and into the evening?
Yeah, the unique point for Bakersfield is both facilities have, what that potential for the afternoon evening onslaught of cases, as
Mm-hmm.
many of our facilities across the country do. The benefit is making sure that we're in continuous dialogue with the operative suite to make sure that our ability to cover anesthesia uh, services are met with the same staffing that the OR teams are, so there's not any discontinuous staffing, and make it as seamless as we can to cover any of those additional cases.
Mm-hmm.
As with the funnel effect, or as you say, winding down in the afternoon and the evening, that occurs everywhere. It occurs at Bakersfield, but
Mm-hmm.
the aspect of continued teamwork between OR leadership and the anesthesia leadership to make sure that those cases are addressed and staffed is very robust. And thus far, with this post-pandemic period of trying to get a lot of these backlog cases in, continues to be handled very efficiently there.
I see. So there's no small group or even a surgeon that says, I just prefer to operate late in the day. And it's a matter of rule. There's always things going very late because of their particular preferences.
Yeah, we see that everywhere. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's always that subset, whether it's after office hours, or for whatever reason assisting a partner on another case, that cases get moved to the afternoon or early
Mm-hmm.
evening. So we do our best to staff and prepare for that, with pre-planning. There's a robust process where each day in the afternoon, OR leadership and anesthesia leadership will meet and address the upcoming schedule for the following day, and staff accordingly and try to troubleshoot any potential pitfalls.
When somebody works at the facility, tell me what a typical day is like when you've been there and you're just like, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to practice like any other clinician would practice there. Just I'm going to want to check things out. Tell me what your day was like when you've done that.
Yeah, so the clinicians are given their assignments the preceding day, and they're assigned a relative shift time. Could be a 10-hour shift or 12-hour shift, or longer, for
Mm-hmm.
some type of call response. And you're notified of what room you're in, and your ability then remotely to actually get into the EMR, look at your patients, look at your cases, is very beneficial to proactively, uh, plan for and address any concerns the clinician may have for an individual patient and their, uh, you know, uh, comorbidity process, to prepare their anesthetic plan.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you will arrive early, preceding your expected start time. For example, at 7:30 start, you're arriving before 7 a.m. You're interviewing your patient, consenting your patient, then getting your operative suite prepared for the
Mm-hmm.
day with needed supplies, medications, and equipment, and perform your anesthesia. You have the ability to with that process, know what your following case is and your following patient by the EMR and your ability to look at that both the night before and that morning of, and continue to facilitate throughput. You finish your case, them off and pack you, go to the pre-op area, do your interview, consent, and start the process all over again.
Got it. Got it. And you spend a lot of time in California, a lot, meaning not just for vacations. And what do you like about not just California, because I think that's a pretty diverse state, but the area, the valley, if you will, in which Bakersfield resides, in Kern County? And can you share with me a little bit about what your experiences are? We did speak with the practice administrator who gave us a wonderful discussion about what it's like to live there. But I thought maybe asking you just what you really thought were some of the really highlights of living in the area that somebody might want to consider.
I believe Bakersfield, with its location in the what they would consider southern Central Valley,
Mm-hmm.
is uniquely positioned and provides for someone like myself that's very involved out with the outdoors and the ability to perform many activities. It provides a great location. Within a very short drive, you wine area of Paso Robles. Within a little further drive from there, you can be along the coast, experience the beach, beautiful rolling green hills of hiking and biking in the Los Osos area, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Mm-hmm.
The ability within a short to get to the desert area that also provides many outdoor activities.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, to the east is Las Vegas with a
Mm-hmm.
with a very easy commutable drive. Going north, you have an abundant three areas with the Sequoia National Park, Kings Canyon, and Yosemite within
Mm-hmm.
a short drive to experience some of the most beautiful country in the United States, and
Mm-hmm.
both winter activities of skiing and summer activities of beach, and all of the California year-round ability to be outdoors and enjoy nature is at hand living in Bakersfield.
And have you as oversight providing clinic, operational and administrative oversight of the department, have you been pleased with the investment into the department, meaning things such as education and training and things of that nature?
Yes, when Somnia did its initial investigation and startup of that was an area of focus for uh, things that were as a process improvement
Mm-hmm.
plan. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
one of the bigger aspects that was identified was an acute pain program.
Mm-hmm.
The hospital has responded with acquisition of brand new ultrasound equipment.
Mm-hmm.
SOMNI has undertaken a robust training and implementation program to basically get that acute pain program started from its infancy.
And how is that? How does that work? Do they have a company come in and do that? Do they have somebody who's an expert in the department teach it? I mean, how do they actually execute on provide uh, that? How do they actually execute on providing that training?
Yeah, SOMNIA has an acute pain specialist that is employed and uniquely qualified to do a site investigation and develop a plan for the acute pain program uh, development, if that's the right word. It's basically from the ground up the investigation and implementation of the acute pain program via the acute pain specialist in conjunction with those clinicians that are on site with executive leadership like myself that would go in and help with the implementation and training of those clinicians that um, would need some additional mentoring and proctoring.
The department as a whole and what they're covering, could you go over with me the number of operating rooms approximately at each facility that are open and running and the kind of cases they do?
Yes. So for Mercy Hospital of Bakersfield, downtown off of Truxton, that facility has a 4 OR setup with a defined NORA site of GI every day. The types of cases that are done there encompass everything short of major transplant and cardiac. They have ortho, spine, neuro, bariatric, orthopedics, general surgery, urology, ENT.
Do they do robotics?
They do robotics. They have a robust uh, gynecology and urology robotic program.
And you mentioned acute pain. Do they do a fair amount of ortho as well?
They do ortho, and that is one of the areas of focus to get the acute pain program uh, up and going, and as a um, standard of expectation for the orthopedist to uh, expect
Okay.
those type of cases covered.
Okay. And what about the other hospital? I believe the other hospital is a little bit different in a
Yeah.
little way. Would you be able to review
Yes.
that for
Mercy
us?
Hospital Southwest can have up to 5 operative suites going, and also has quite a busy obstetrics coverage program. The same type of cases are done at Southwest as done downtown, and the obstetrics uh, covers high risk OB and is the regional referral center for high risk patients.
Is it fair to say, in summary, that Dignity system, the Mercy system in Bakersfield, which has two hospitals, downtown and Southwest do similar cases? Downtown does GI, whereas Southwest doesn't, and Southwest has a robust OB service, and downtown doesn't. But
Correct.
otherwise, the two hospitals do quite a bit of the same work, and the surgeons can work at either hospital.
Correct.
Okay. What about the way the physicians and CRNAs work there? Could you give us your vision for what you would hope that to be? We're sort of getting the hospital's getting its sea legs with this next version or iteration of the anesthesia department. And as the VP of Ops and somebody who oversees that component, what are you hopeful for? If you had a crystal ball and you were to look forward a year or two, what would you hope that it would look like?
The setup and implementation of the coverage is one that provides for a clinician to have unrestricted practice in that ability to put your signature on your clinical care, yet it allows for the extra set of hands via a anesthesia board runner or someone that is free as a float to provide an extra set of hands with a difficult airway, potentially a flow issue to help with a preoperative acute pain block, help with a preoperative assessment, and just as well, it gives you that comfort level when you drop your patient off in the recovery room that there is someone free if something were case and your initial patient from the previous case needed some intervention that someone has the ability to step in and facilitate a safe transition with that patient.
Mark, were there any questions that I should have asked you that I haven't that you might find that you think somebody learning more about the facility would find helpful?
I think I mean, one thing that is important is uh, common spirit and dignity have provided a very good product acquisition line and supply chain medication management process. We are very fortunate at both these facilities to have all the equipment we need, all the supplies we need, and all the medications we need to safely provide anesthesia for our patients. And
Okay.
I think that's an important thing.
And the physical plant is new, modern. The machines are not from the 1950s or 60s. They're new, modern equipment, and the EMR is
Cerner. It's Cerner.
It's Cerner. So the EMR is Cerner, and the equipment is new and modern. There's preventative maintenance done, and the availability of both durable and consumable supplies is plentiful. Is that a good summary?
Yes, and we at both facilities we have very good engaged anesthesia techs that
Hmm.
also support our clinical care and supply